What is happening to British industry and what is happening to British steel in particular? Joining me is someone who knows an awful lot more about it for me, has been commentating on it for, well, if I said decades, he'd probably think I'm rude, but he's certainly an expert. Nick Peters, now editor at Manufacturing TV. Nick, hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hello. Now, look, I'm on slightly dodgy ground here, Nick, because when it comes to the specifics of steel, you know, I have to go back in my memory a long time. I think I'm broadly right. There's different types of steel, and some of it, the high-precision steel, is really important when it comes to things like aircraft and top-end projects. But what is the impact of the changes at Tata on our national manufacturing capability?
OK, well, we make just under 50% of the steel we need in this country. The rest, as you said, comes in from overseas. The blast furnaces at Port Talbot, just to be clear, there was a deal on the table proposed by the unions to keep one of them open during a transition period between now and when these electric arc furnaces, the green steel making plants, open in a couple of years' time. That didn't happen, and Tata's decision took everybody by surprise, and, well, perhaps not by surprise, but caused huge shock. Now, in terms of what we need in this country, the electric arc furnaces are fed by scrap metal. That's what they do. They turn scrap metal, of which we have a huge amount in this country. I think we're the second largest exporter of scrap metal in the world. And it takes all our old fridges, cars, etc., and turns it into new steel. Now, that's great. But it's also not as pure as some of the high-end precision making capacity that you were talking about requires. Now, I should add that when it comes to defence, people like Sheffield Forge Masters, which is one of our great defence companies, actually does have its own steel plant to make the very, very high-end steel that some of those defence items require.
Is that the plant, sorry to interrupt, is that the plant that, I think it used to be British Steel, up at Stocksbridge or Penistone, somewhere along there?
No, the British Steel plant at Scunthorpe is still going. There are two, the British Steel, which is owned by China, but let's not, you know, that is a weirdness in and of itself, historically. That is still going, but their blast furnaces are also going to be shut down and replaced by these electric arc furnaces, which consume huge amounts of electricity. And unfortunately, talking about joined-up industrial strategy, oh my, wouldn't it be lovely if we had one? Where are we going to get the electricity from reliably? Because the national grid can't even, at the moment, provide for all the electric cars that are going to be on the roads in several years' time.
Well, the answer to that is it's going to be nuclear, isn't it? Surely that's just a done deal, isn't it?
Well, nuclear, but how long does it take to get one of those off the ground?
Beyond our lifetime is the answer.
Yep, and we have got this wonderful technology which Rolls-Royce is very much at the forefront of, small modular reactors, which there's one in Derby, actually, at the Rolls-Royce plant. A little nuclear reactor, sounds great, doesn't it? Every home should have one. But it produces all the electricity that Rolls-Royce needs. And the idea is that they would be all over the country. But it's so slow. It's the planning thing again. It's regulatory control. It's, you know, we are very slow in this country, and we have not enough joined up thinking about how to make all these things happen in a way that provides security, continuity, and trust for our manufacturing sector. And I have to tell you, this event at Port Talbot is an absolute classic of its kind, of events happening beyond the government's control and direction. They just don't seem to have it. They don't just not have an idea about how to do it, they actively do not want to have an industrial strategy. Rishi Sunak's quoted as saying when he was a chancellor, I don't want one of those because I'll just have companies lined up outside my door asking for handouts, which is a terrible thing to say about the industry in this country. We need an industrial strategy. We need joined up thinking. We need a plan, and there isn't one.
So can I ask you, those who are saying this is the end of our steel industry, are they the Tata, if you like, the Tata layoffs and this switch? Are they right?
No. We'll continue to make steel. We'll continue to import steel as well, and this is another problem. As well as the electric arc furnaces, the green steel, there's another technology called DRI, and for one, it put me on the spot. I can't tell you what the acronym stands for, but what it means is another way of creating iron ore, and you can do it using hydrogen, and hydrogen which can be created using renewable energy. So other countries are developing this new technology, which also cuts the carbon output of steel by about 75%. So yeah, it's a terrific technology, not happening in this country, happening all over Europe, happening in the USA, and of course in Asia as well.
So what does an industrial strategy look like, or what should it look like to give us, if you like, both security as well as, if you like, something credible that's joined up?
Okay, well, what it means is that government, in partnership with industry and with trade bodies like Make UK, which is very active in promoting an industrial strategy, they get round the table. They have an industrial strategy council. We used to have one as recently as 2017 when it was instituted, and then it was cancelled by Boris Johnson. I mean, this is, again, part of the problem. You have different policies being introduced and then scrapped by the same party during during its term in government. So this again leads to uncertainty. Get round the table, have an industrial strategy council which has statutory powers, and talk about the future, work it out. What do we need? How do we get there? Put these plans in place and make them again, through statute, make them last beyond the length of a parliament and a government, so that, in a sense, you can trust your investment plans. People can't trust enough in what's going to happen in this country to invest properly. Now, we had a very interesting case the other day. GSK is investing 300 million in a new pharmaceuticals factory in this country. That's great. But AstraZeneca pulled out of a plan to invest in this country and is now investing in Ireland because it said it doesn't like the business tax regime. I'm not certain that's necessarily true. What is true is that companies don't like investing in a country which does not have certainty about its future. That does include taxes. That does include support for industry. That's not handouts. There's things that government has to do in order to get big things off the ground, like gigafactories, like steel making. These things need government to come in and prime the pump and draw in, crowd in private investment. It doesn't work the other way around. British Volt, that fiasco up in Northumberland, saw that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. You're talking about the car battery investment.
Yeah, the government actually didn't have a clue what was going on there.
Well, I don't. Sorry to interrupt you there, Nick, but I don't want to draw you into politics unnecessary. But out of the two main parties, you're clear that there's no industrial strategy, obvious or in signs of the Conservative Party. Do you see the Labour Party having been credible about an industrial strategy?
Oh, 100%, absolutely.
And they're saying the right things that you want to hear.
Yep. Yeah, they're already talking in depth with people like Make UK, with the large companies. They have got a green industrial strategy. Question marks over their £28 billion pledge.
Big question marks over.
Yeah. And that, unfortunately, is signs, again, of Treasury thinking, ruling the roost. Rachel Reeves obviously not wishing to frighten the horses. And that question mark over the 28 billion. I think they'll find other ways of doing it, but they do have an industrial strategy. They do want to work in partnership with business, and business, frankly, manufacturers are looking forward to that very much indeed.
Well, Nick, I hope they're not disappointed if and when that time comes. History shows, of course, that it's one thing to promise in the run-up to election. It's quite hard to deliver, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt now. And Nick Peters, thank you, editor at Manufacturing TV, for joining me.